Hello everyone, I'm Nick from nextstepnick.com and today we're going to talk about Moons of Madness. So full disclosure, I received a code for this game, so thank you very much for that. I've been playing it on the PS4. It's a horror style title where you're using puzzles to advance and you're exploring Mars, like a base on Mars, as well as sort of outcrops and other things, whilst this eldritch horror mysteriously works in the background. The first thing I have to say about it though is I really love these environments. I think they're really beautiful and they really lend themselves to this attractive but eerie kind of atmosphere. Everything looks well thought out and you can kind of imagine the way in which this base would function as well as the different outcrops. I love the way in which the world changes as well. I won't spoil too much, but a lot of things get turned on its head as you kind of expect. I love the eldritch kind of vibe that you see as well. I think it's a really well thought out game. I especially like the fact that with a lot of the puzzle items and the items you can interact with, you can pick them up and turn them over in your hands to find out little special quirks about them. For example, if it's a picture, maybe you can look on the back. If it's something like a crowbar, it's a bit more basic, but it just adds that weight. It's very jumpy, is the thing I would say about the game though. I prefer the kind of horror that makes you anxious and nervous, and I think this world has so much wonderful detail and so much to explore and interact with. That kind of horror might fit better. Maybe just that creepy eeriness that something's slightly off would maybe be a bit nicer, just seeing that creep into the objects, but instead it's a bit more jump orientated. That being said, it's really well done. You don't always expect the jumps and you sometimes expect them when they don't occur. The puzzles as well and the ways in which you get the information from the world are really well thought out. I like the fact that you can read through people's emails, you can mess around with items that you don't really need to. There's a lot of fun, enjoyable little moments where it really helps you to feel pulled into the world and you feel like you're actually on this base. And I like that. I think there's just so much to look at that you spend so much of your time just enjoying the world, and it's such a great sign to see that. The world itself as well, despite the fact it's on Mars, is really intricate and well thought out. There's a lot of different environments and a lot of things to look at. The labs and the different ways you can explore rooms make them creepy and eerie, but they really evoke that feeling of being lived in, and I really like that. And the transitions to Mars are lovely. You go through this whole thing of depressurizing airlocks, and it just makes the vistas and the views just so much more attractive. And it also gives you that feeling of just this oppressive, desolate but somehow eerie planet. Absolutely love it. I think it's done so well. It's just a wonderful atmosphere, and the movement between the different airlocks becomes something that you get used to. So there's this different process that feels very scientific in nature, it feels very engineering orientated, but as you get more and more into this and you become more and more attuned to doing these different steps, you start to genuinely feel like a part of this team. As time goes on as well, the game really showcases your nerves and anxiety growing in the player through like the ways in which they have little tiny movement changes. So for example, earlier you saw him putting in the pipe there. Later on he kind of fumbles that, or his arm will tremble. And I think it's a lovely little detail that just allows you to think, yeah, this is well thought out. Yeah, passion has gone into this. The different puzzles are generally quite difficult. Most of them require a little bit of forethought and you have to really think about how you can utilise your environment and what items to put where. There are number puzzles, there are different movement puzzles, there's a lot of sort of scientific-y bits, but they're all fun, they're not unbearable, it's just a case of sort of sitting there and having a play. But then that's really nice in a way because you come away with this feeling of success when you do manage to achieve something. Some of them I think could be a little bit better explained, but it's a really nice way to just kind of utilise the items around you to solve stuff. It encourages you to explore the world, and because they're not so straightforward, I don't feel like they're patronising. I think with a lot of games like this, the puzzles seem a little bit like just blocks rather than interesting and unique devices, whereas in this they all feel unique and interesting. I really enjoyed them. I think it's a case of that payoff is worth it. Each advancement kind of fits into the story in a nice way. You know why you're in these areas, you know why you're doing these puzzles, and they feed into the storyline, so you can kind of understand why they're there. They don't feel like they're just placed there for no reason. And I think that's the takeaway message for this game in general, really. So much thought has gone into the design, and you can tell that straight away. These environments are generally quite freaky and quite eerie, and they really help to build up that feeling of dread and uncertainty. Everything is placed very delicately and carefully to kind of funnel you through these areas where things will put you on edge, things will make you a little bit unnerved, you'll be a little bit worried about taking that extra step. Maybe you'll hear a sound, and what's that sound? It's got some wonderful sound engineering and it's got some wonderful design. But that's why I think I would prefer it to be a little bit more about that atmosphere feeling oppressive and making you worried about taking that next step. Whereas instead, you just end up thinking you're going to be made to jump. I mean, here, for example, I kept thinking something was going to jump out of me, but the fact that there are these eldritch roots around don't seem to bother me that much anymore because, you know, I've kind of seen them and they're out in the daylight and you can see them really clearly. They're not as creepy. There's some really eerie stuff as the game progresses, and I like that. But I think, you know, less is more sometimes, and hold it back. You know, it's more successful when you hold something terrifying back and just let people glimpse it rather than see it. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you again very soon.